Welcome to Tales from the Switch Vault, where I, Jim, look back at some of the weird and wonderful games from the Nintendo Switch. This time I join the homicide department in Noire. Created by Australian studio Team Bondi and published by Rockstar Games, the title was originally released on PS3 and Xbox 360 in May 2011, before coming to PC later that year. Following rave reviews, the game got a re-release for the next generation of consoles, with improved visuals and alterations to the story and gameplay on PS4, Xbox One and Nintendo Switch in November 2017. This new version was developed by Virtuos and was a big deal for the first year of the Switch, bringing the closest title to a GTA-like for fans to enjoy at that time. LA Noire is a 3D action-adventure game set in an open-world Los Angeles of 1947, playing as Cole Phelps, a former Marine turned policeman who investigates crimes he comes across on the beat. The game is divided up into chapters, or cases, that the player is tasked with solving. This is where you find the main mechanics, searching around crime scenes and interrogating suspects you find. Using the policeman's notebook, you build up case info to solve the crime. For instance, at a scene you may find a body to search and get documentation from them. The game uses the vibrations to note when a clue is found. Bullets on the floor, for instance, are not so obvious to see, so this really helps. A weapon may be found, meaning a trip to the gunsmith is required to speak to the shop owner for further evidence on who owns it. You can also speak to witnesses who should give you more vital information, building up the case piece by piece. Adding all this together, and you should have a suspect, you actually need to apprehend them, and then using the evidence you can accuse them of the crime. Get it right and you level up, smoothing your progression up the police force, though it's just as easy to get it wrong and be left empty-handed. The writing is really strong, and through a series of flashbacks really builds up the main character Phelps. Having an open world, you can drive all around the city. It looks good, but there's not a whole lot to do beyond going to the next crime scene. Combat, though, is actually pretty good. The cover-based shooting works well enough, though there's no gyro controls, which is a big miss on this console. Hand-to-hand combat is more fun, though pretty simple, allowing Cole to duck and weave before punching out a criminal. Visually, the game looks really good. I can't speak for the accuracy of the city, but it sure looks like the 1940s. This really stands out compared to the modern takes on the genre. The cars and shops in particular look great. Graphically, the game screams early 2010s, and whilst it's not anywhere near the peak of, say, Red Dead Redemption 2 onwards, it's still pretty good. Where this title truly stands out is the motion capture, which even back then looked really good. The performances are really cool and actually come from the creation of a second company, Depth Analysis, who created the motion scan technology. This involved recording actors at a ridiculous 1000 frames per second, using 32 cameras surrounding the actor, attempting to create the most realistic facial expressions. The protagonist was excellently played by Aaron Stanton of Mad Men fame. The other visual flourishes in terms of design is I love how the case titles pop up at the start of each chapter, and the fact the game actually has a black and white mode, which is really cool. As you'd expect, the voice work in this game is excellent. The game had actually over 400 actors and they got over 20 hours worth of dialogue. Being so story heavy, it was integral that they had these great performances, particularly when you're trying to pick up the subtleties when speaking to a witness or suspects. The game contains licensed music from that era, as well as an award-winning original score created by Andrew Hale and Simon Hale, the latter of Sade fame, which was inspired by 1940s movie orchestral scores. The music really adds to the vibe, and it's used to clever effects such as when the investigation score ending once you have found all the clues in the scene. Back in 2017, this was the most GTA-adjacent title out there on Switch. Saints Row was another 2 years away, the GTA Trilogy 4. Hitting so early, it was quite the coup for Nintendo. However, the game is much slower and more methodical compared to those series. The game contains Spectacle, the flamethrower rampage later in the game, though it doesn't really stack up against like a bank heist or attacking a meth lab, which makes for a nice change of pace, but it misses that GTA spot when you're out and about in the city. Whilst there's no penalty for bad driving, you can't really race or muck around as you would in other titles. Luckily, the writing is strong, and the story should keep most players going, particularly when the hunt for a serial killer kicks off. Where this truly stands out is that you are not the underdog criminal for once, but the policeman trying to stop them. The interrogations using the motion capture technology are the biggest selling point. You have to choose whether to be the good cop, the bad cop, or accuse them of the crime by picking up on their clues and their behaviour. I love the intentions of this, pushing technology to make a game even better, but this is probably where it lets the title down the most. In theory, they use mocap to get actors to look shifty and guilty looks. However, the performances are so over the top, it breaks any immersion you have. Often it leads you astray and you end up picking up the wrong option and fail, but then it doesn't really make much sense. It's weird. Still, it was really groundbreaking at the time, and whilst this side of things is a bit hit and miss this title, there are other studios still doing this work. If you want hyper-realistic facial performance, go and play Hellblade 1 if you want to see something truly modern on this level. Even the audio in that is excellent. One thing that surprised me was that this title wasn't on the dreaded Switch 2 backwards compatibility issue list. Being an open world game, I suspected that the size or physics would cause issues, but that's not to be. The game runs really well. There's decent loading times on Switch 2, but graphically not much of an upgrade. afraid. It's still more than playable on Switch 1, but the draw distances and murky textures really let the open world down. The main game comes in at around 22 hours long and it's over 40 to do everything. This complete edition contains all of the additional DLC of new cases, weapons and outfits, etc. Being now 14 years since release, I'd forgotten most of the cases, so it's pretty much like playing a new game. Team Bondi had, let's say, a messy history and was an Australian game studio based in Sydney. The studio's roots actually go back to London, and in 1994 Sony's Team Soho studio was created. It was known for numerous games from the first 3 generations of PlayStation, including This Is Football, NBA Shootout and Spice World. They were most known for The Getaway, the British gangster game. It got rave reviews and sales in Europe, though went up against GTA Vice City, which would massively outsell it. Its creative director, Brendan McNamara, left the company a year after The Getaway's release to move back to his home country, going on to create Team Bondi with fellow team members of Team Soho. By 2004, the 6-person team had started work on LA Noire, which he would write and direct as an exclusive for PlayStation and 3. However, by 2006, the rights were passed over to Rockstar Games, whose numerous studios helped Team Bondi develop the game. The development details are wild, with McNamara's interests in 1940s Los Angeles being the basis of the game. The team spent 18 months researching the city using 180,000 photographs and over 1,000 newspapers. They modelled the city using aerial photographs to get the city planning and traffic as accurate as possible. However, the game was taking many years to make, with numerous stories of crunch culture, poor management and high staff turnover rates, which were all denied by management. The title eventually launched after 7 years development in May 2011, but by this point it was alleged that the relationship between Rockstar and Team Bondi was badly damaged. By August, Team Bondi was supposedly looking for a new buyer but could not find one, and the company went into liquidation in October that year. McNamara would then create Video Games Deluxe in 2013, which would eventually work on GTA San Andreas VR and the reworked GTA trilogy before being acquired by Take-Two in 2025, becoming Rockstar Australia while keeping McNamara on staff. LA Noire was nominated for a glut of awards after its initial release, including Ultimate Game of the Year at the Golden Joysticks, Best Technology at GTC Awards, and it won a Gaming BAFTA for its original music. It received a 79 on Metacritic for a Switch version, curiously 10 points lower than the original releases. Presumably, performance plays a big part here. Prior to the Switch launch, the game had sold over 7.5 million copies. I have mixed feelings over LA Noire. It felt like a great example of gaming as art, though coming back to replay it, it's actually just really cinematic. I still really admire what they were trying to do. It does feel like a one-off experiment though. Taking the GTA formula through the filter of the movie LA Confidential via motion capture makes it really stand out. Sure, it misses the mark in several areas, and it completely rips off that movie, but the work that went into making it is astounding. It's just a massive shame about the complaints from staff members about the company culture. A final issue to call out is one that actually still plagues the wider gaming world today, that of accreditation, with over 100 employees said to have been missed off or incorrectly listed in the LA Noire credits, and going as far to create their own website to correct the record. This really isn't hard. Hollywood's been doing it for decades, and there are still accusations of it being used as a weapon. If someone leaves a project early, they can get removed from the credits, regardless of the time or the effort they've put into it. For me, if you worked on it in any capacity, you should just be on there, particularly as this helps the people that actually make the games get future jobs. It's not every company, but should be a rule industry-wide. I just finished Cyberpunk's Phantom Liberty, and they even had their tax team listed. Anyway, LA Noire is still a very interesting game, and one I'm glad I got the chance to go back to, having played it all the way back on Xbox 360. They almost pull off their own Rockstar formula, but personally, I'd go play GTA San Andreas or Red Dead Redemption on Switch. The slower pace and just lack of being able to muck around in the world just means it misses the mark. Though, if you want to solve crimes, this is the best place for it. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe for more weekly Nintendo Switch video game essays. Right, time for me to finally solve the Quarter Moon killings.